Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
Today, November 6, 2013, is the 1-year anniversary of me creating this channel. And boy, I came a long way. I've started channels on YouTube before and other projects to capitalize on, but this channel has gone the farthest of any of my ideas. It mixes my love for movies, singing, stop motion, comedy, drama, and my passion for creating films. Cinephile Studio stands for Films Made by Film Lovers, and my slogan, the No Budget Extravaganza, has kept intact. I spent nearly no money in the last year making these videos, and with the finalized projects, I think they are turning out pretty good. Okay, so I did get a new camera, a new computer, some props, makeup, and other miscellaneous stuff, but still, nothing substantially expensive. Even though I didn't really become a big smash hit, I'm still proud of what I accomplished, and I have gotten some good replies from people who have enjoyed my work. So to everyone who has subscribed or watched, I just want to give a big thank you. But since I've been on for a year now, I want a way to celebrate. Well, since I'm a huge cinephile, if you didn't already catch that, I guess I could do the common practice of telling my favorite movies. It's hard to narrow down how many movies should be on this list, but I guess I can narrow it down to 10. Nah, maybe 20. Okay, 30. Because these 30 movies are the ones I always think of when I think of a movie that speaks to me. These aren't considered the greatest movies of all time, and these all aren't beloved classics. These are just movies that I love every time I watch them. A favorite movie should be something that doesn't age and seems new every time. You don't gotta base your favorites on the general consensus, you just gotta pick what's best for you. Of course, I haven't seen every movie ever, and I'm sure this list will probably change within the next years, besides maybe the top 10. But these movies mean a great deal to me. They all have a story to them and influence me in some shape or form. So sit back, relax, and don't have a heart attack. This is my top 30 favorite films. Number 30, Forrest Gump. While many believe this totally didn't deserve the Academy Award in 1994 for Best Picture, and just wait for later because you'll see I agree, this movie has become one of the great American movies. Tom Hanks' portrayal is absolutely astounding. Director Robert Zemeckis gives a view of not only the life of Forrest, but the life of America from the 50s to the 80s. This also had special effects that were groundbreaking at the time, and they still are just as good today. And the music paces with the time periods perfectly, making us feel like we're really watching scenes from the 50s or 70s or what have you. This movie makes everyone feel good. The running scene is a must-see for any distance runner. It pumps me up every time I go out running.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Number 29, Full Metal Jacket. Probably the least Kubricky of the Kubrick films, this film about the dehumanization of war is still one of his best. Though lots of people hate the second half, I myself am in love with the whole movie. It shows a much different take from most war movies. A lot of war movies focus on one good side and has lots of drama. This movie doesn't really show a good side, but rather that the soldiers are just instruments for our country's war. Now, if this movie is true to what really goes on, I don't know. There have been stories of how people are messed up from war and how Vietnam has lots of troubles, but is this movie still relevant with today's army? I don't know, but all I do know is that this movie is awesome. R. Lee Ermey steals the show as a drill sergeant, and Stanley Kubrick allowed him to improvise most of his lines, which was a rarity for Kubrick. Either way, he sure got snubbed at the Oscars.
Hey, you maggots understand that?
Number 28, Groundhog Day. I only saw this movie recently, but I gotta say, I already knew it was one of my favorites. It's a movie that combines comedy and fantasy. What could be better? Bill Murray is always lovable, and in this movie he repeats the same day over and over again, which happens to be Groundhog Day. At first, this movie is funny, but as time goes on, his character starts to go through a major change. He at first does things for himself, but then over time starts to care for others and begins to deal with what he can and can't change. He tries to get with a girl, but constantly thinks of only himself, so he fails every time. It's only when he thinks of her, actually, that he succeeds in getting her. It's got a good moral that we can't live each day just thinking of ourselves, but instead think and help one another. But of course, it's funny. So funny.
I'm a god.
You're God.
I'm a god. I'm not the God.
Number 27, The School of Rock. A kid in our class once convinced our teacher to watch this movie. He asked if it was appropriate. Well, yes, to a point. When it comes to films that adults and children can enjoy, this movie is a perfect example. This movie mixes music, comedy, good story, and Jack Black all in one combo. It's original, it's funny, and it's probably one of my most quotable movies. This movie makes a decision of being smart and sometimes rude, but also to look up to kids rather than talking down to them. Jack Black is given free realm in this film, and thank God, because this is his best work. It's also one of the only movies that puts a twist on the liar revealed cliche. I've seen it a million times, probably will see it 2 million more.
I've got a hangover. Who knows what that means?
Doesn't that mean you're drunk?
No. It means I was drunk yesterday.
Number 26, Pulp Fiction. Lots of people think this movie should have won the Best Picture in 1994. I kind of agree, but I'll get to which one I think should have won. But anyways, Pulp Fiction, the movie that put Quentin Tarantino on the map. What I find fascinating about this movie is the editing. Not just the order of scenes, but other things that just grab our attention, like the inside of the taxi. The background looks like an old 30s film background. Or how about when Uma Thurman draws out a square and it actually appears on screen? This movie has a lot of little details, the clocks, the bright flash of the case, the wallet. It's all done to keep our attention to a 2.5-hour movie. Tarantino also has this amazing touch where he can take famous actors and make them seem brand new. Also, Harvey Keitel as the Wolf. Enough said.
Die, you mother!
A new film directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Number 25, The Truman Show. This is Jim Carrey's best film. Other people think different, but trust me, this is the one. What I find amazing about this movie is that while Carrey can be over the top, it never comes off as such. It's probably just because the reality is a TV show, so over-the-topness just works with it. This movie tackles many subjects, but never over-exemplifies it. This movie keeps calm. Even the music helps keep the movie calm. In fact, sometimes it seems like the score is taking over the scene. But man, do I love this movie. It's simply put, amazing. A brilliant and original idea.
Anything happen?
No.
Number 24, A Clockwork Orange. Weirdly enough, I think I saw this when I was in 9th grade, but hadn't rewatched it since recently. But I remember really liking it, and still do. This movie takes on the subject of free will, and does this in a very dark manner. There are scenes of nudity, something that overly annoys me in films, but this is literally the only movie that it actually fits in well. It really gives you the perspective of a criminal, and should we really be the ones to force him to do good? Is it our choice or theirs? This movie is to me Kubrick's best, and though it's his most controversial, I think it's also his most brilliant of morals. It's so weird that we all don't want to do bad, but when we see Alex do bad and get punished, we just cheer for him the whole way. This is what I call a backwards motion picture, but man, is it enjoyable. I especially love how it is shot and edited. If you hadn't seen a Kubrick film, all I have to say is, if you leave your morals out of it, this is a good one to start with.
Try the wine!
Number 23, Up. A movie that makes you cry, laugh, have high spirits, and feel lost all at the same time. When I first heard of this movie, it sounded dumb. But after seeing it, not only is it one of Pixar's best, but it's also one of the best family films ever. The pacing, the jokes, and the moments are all paced perfectly. Nothing messes up, and sometimes it seems like they will, but somehow they find a way to do it right. This movie is unbelievable, just see it. And if you don't cry in the first 10 minutes, it's probably because you have bad tear production. I especially love the relationship between Russell and Mr. Fredricksen. It seems that both of them are just missing something out of their lives, and both of them are somewhat completing each other. It's a much different kind of relationship that isn't normally shown in children's films.
Please let me in.
No.
Number 22, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. What's weird is that younger people always refer to this as just Monty Python. No, that's the name of the group. But anyway, this movie probably tries out every single kind of joke known to man. And yes, it succeeds. I think I laugh at least one thing every time I see this movie. Not only that, but there's something about the production value. It's cheap enough, but it's also epic enough. It's like one of the great comedy epics. Except I will admit I skip the Camelot singing scene almost every time. Just not for me. But anyways, you want to know what movie people are constantly quoting about? This is the one, so see it.
One day, lad, all this will be yours. What, the curtains?
Number 21, Pineapple Express. Ah, Huey Lewis sang a great song for this movie. This movie mixes comedy and a drug war. What's great about this movie is James Franco. James Franco, this is his best, absolutely best. I'll fight anyone who disagrees. But still, this movie is funny in the sense that Saul and Dale don't really have anything to do with the war, yet it's all revolving around them. It's in a sense like Back to the Future, how all this crap is happening and Marty is the one who has to fix it all. But I'll get to that. Anyway, the first time I saw Pineapple Express was on a small iPod Nano during gym class when my arm was broken. All I have to say is, it was well worth it. I've seen it many times since and it hasn't aged a day. If Knocked Up and Superbad helped evolve the modern comedy, Pineapple Express perfected it. It also coined the phrase, monkeys out of the bottle. Oh, and by the way, make the sequel!
Whoa, I gotta get to a boat, man, come on! No, I think we should stay. Why? Because I'm in the dumpster already.
Number 20, The Incredibles. Speaking of making a sequel, make a sequel, make a goddamn freaking amazing mother effing Hope the Holy Roly New Hope Part 7 Take Manhattan sequel. Geez, seriously. Monsters Inc. and Cars deserve sequels and The Incredibles doesn't? Some superhero number 2 movies are better than the originals. Pixar, a sequel is literally a gold mine. I mean, what the heck? Jeez. But anyway, this movie is a perfect example of making a good movie as far as story plot goes. It introduces the characters, shows the conflict, gives character depth, evolves the conflict, adds a twist, and creates a great resolve. This movie came at a time when there were many superhero movies, and I think this was the most original of all of them. The voice acting, perfect. Animation, perfect. The story, perfect. I always go back to this movie when developing a plotline. It really is a perfect influence. It mixes the superhero genre, comedy, and the family-friendly tone. Oh, and by the way, make a sequel! Number 19, It's a Wonderful Life. Everyone has seen this, everyone loves this. The only thing that I can point out that others haven't is, well, you ever notice at the ending when George looks at what Clarence wrote in the book? See how no and friends are underlined specifically? No friends! Oh, I'm a hoot. But anyway, yada yada yada, this movie will change your life if you need changing. It makes you feel important because it's right, everyone is important. But hey, I can't speak for it, see it yourself. It's in public domain, you can pretty much find a copy anywhere, and if you haven't seen it, they play it on NBC like every Christmas. Which is funny that people always try to relate it to only Christmas. Even though it kind of is a Christmas film, and yeah, it's set during the Christmas time, you can pretty much watch this movie any time of the year. It really is the perfect feel-good movie. This movie also contains one of my favorite movie shots ever. When George runs out of the house, stops, turns his head and looks directly at the screen, the moment he began to believe that he truly didn't exist.
You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around it and pull it down.
Number 18, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? This is one of the Coen brothers' kind of least talked about films, and yet it's my favorite from them. I love how they take the classic Odyssey story and incorporate a 30s take on it, while also playing tribute to the music, films, and look of the 30s. This movie is a journey of coincidences, and never once not enjoyable. Plus, everything is shot in a sepia color tone, which adds to the kind of period we are in. There are many intentional moments where there's over-the-top humor, but it works so well. I've seen this movie many times, plus it's one of my dad's favorites, so maybe there's a reasoning there. Pretty much, if you enjoy road films with a mythology twist that's also a period piece, check this out.
Who elected you leader of this outfit? Well, Pete, I figured it should be the one with the capacity for abstract thought.
Number 17, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, another Frank Capra movie. Yes, he's one of my favorite directors. He was a creator of feel-good movies, and this movie is no exception. In fact, it's overly patriotic, but not in the way you think. It actually slams the government a little, and they actually got mad at the time. But really, this movie is about, well, Mr. Smith and his journey from a small-town boy to becoming a senator, and his attempt to prove to the government that he's gonna fight. I just love it. His filibuster is like watching a boxing match, how he's getting overly tired and won't give up. In fact, the only thing that I really would complain about is the ending. Like, really. So, I don't know. I think it just doesn't fit. I mean, I like that it's a happy ending, but it feels very rushed. Other than that, Jimmy Stewart can acquaint my TV any day.
And I'm gonna stay right here and fight for this lost cause, even if this room gets filled with lies like these.
Number 16, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? This movie mixes our favorite timeless cartoons with 40s detective style plot. I freaking love it, and I don't know one person who doesn't. It's a family film, but there's a lot of inside jokes that only older people would understand. While sometimes it's obvious what will happen, it's not what this movie is about. It's a spectacle to watch. I'd compare it to this year's Gravity, how instead of being a movie about plot and morals, it's instead about being an enjoyable ride. The effects in this movie will just distract you from everything else. Plus, it's pretty funny. It's sad because I think this movie has kind of died down with modern audience popularity. I don't know, maybe it needs a re-release. Until then, you know this whole world is a great world after all.
But tell me, Eddie, is that a rabbit in your pocket or are you just happy to see me?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all...